Ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101. 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 Promoter 101.
Sam Pearl from Gracia Live on Promoter 101.
Welcome back to the Promoter 101 podcast. I'm Jamie Loeb, filling in for W. Luke Pierce, who's off today.
Welcome back, Jamie. You are here on a great day. We have Evenko's Daniel Glick talking about the biz in the Great North. Well, yeah, in the Great North. Canada. I forgot where Canada was.
Canada's north.
It's fucking up there. It's up there.
It's up there.
It's basically heaven.
And we have a war story with a surprise special guest.
And W. Luke Pierce is here with the news of the week.
Anton Lockwood from DHP Family, and I'm on Promoter 101.
If you've missed any of our past Promoter 101 episodes, you don't have to worry. We saved them for you. You can go to our website, and that's promoter101.com. It's also .net, but for some reason we like the .com. Anyway, it's a magical computer device. You go to the site, and you can pull up all of the back episodes. This week, we suggest you listen to number 80.
Because number 80 features Conway Entertainment's Tony Conway. And Tony enlightens us on some industry history.
Plus, the fabulous Fox in St. Louis's Steve Littman shares how the Fox became, well, so fucking famous.
And we have APA's Craig Newman, who proves once again that he is one of the industry's best.
Soda Jerk Mike Sparsh talks about competing in the Mile High City.
And we have 3 questions from New Frontier Touring's fabulous Paul Lohr.
It is a jam-packed episode.
I know.
I know you're busy and things get tough, so I know you haven't dropped us a review yet, but, if you're thinking about it, you got a spare moment, in a doctor's office just waiting around, you got nothing else to do. Well, you're listening to this podcast. Clearly, you have nothing else to do if you're listening to us. Hey, drop us a review. Subscribe even. What could it hurt?
You can always unsubscribe.
Jamie.
Take a chance. Oh, that's all I'm saying. Take a chance.
All right.
Nick Matthews from Coda Agency, and I'm on Promoter 101.
News of the week.
Luke's back with a little news, and since we're recording this way before and it'll be edited and dropped in later, no idea what the hell he's going to talk about.
All right.
So this should be enlightening to all of us.
Fantastic.
It's time for News of the Week. Some big moves in Music City as Allie Harnell announced that she'll be joining Live Nation to spearhead Live Nation's women's initiatives in a newly created position of President and Chief Strategy Officer for Women Nation. Prior to the big move, Allie Harnell had spent 14 years at AEG and the Messina Group before being promoted last year to AEG Global's touring team. She'll join Live Nation to, quote, expand many of the efforts to forge partnerships with industry groups, drive research, and work to level the playing field for women in the live music business. That includes some purview over the 21 chapters of We Nation, which is the employee-led group of women empowering and connecting women inside Live Nation, Future Nation, a career development program, and the Women Nation Fund, which is an investment fund owned by Live Nation that provides capital to female entrepreneurs in the promotions industry. Harnell will report to Chief Executive Officer Michael Rapino and Head of U.S. Concerts, Bob Rue. Congrats goes out to Allie. Across the pond where Steiny's out, Tim Leiweke announced that Oakview Group would target growth in the UK, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East with the launch of OVG offices in London. Former president of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Really Useful Group and former managing director of AEG Live, Jessica Ravos, will launch the office alongside Leiweke, who will serve in a non-executive capacity. Joining Jessica will be former chief officer at Formula E Holdings and SVP sales at AEG Europe, Sam Piccone III, while Mark Donnelly has been appointed COO. Bunch of major announcements accompanied the senior management team, followed behind that, announcing hires at the EVP for Business Development and Facilities, and SVP for Commercial, and Legal Counsel and Stadium Consultants all will join that office. And Leiweke commented that the company will explore arena and stadium development and partnership opportunities outside the U.S., again, specifically targeting Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. Big moves from Irving and his team at Oakview Group. While there's no specific deals mentioned, they did mention a pipeline full of advanced discussions on a number of projects. They also touted their ability to scale their presently North America-based business functions like sponsorship opportunities to, quote, like-minded venues outside the America. So seeing Irving and Ophü Group expand their footprint to now compete on a global stage, something to pay attention to. Finally, some news again out of Music City with Sony ATV Music Publishing announcing that it'll represent Dolly Parton's iconic catalog. I Will Always Love You, 9 to 5, and Jolene, as well as her newly written tracks, will be published in North America, territories not already published by, some sub-pub arrangements exclusively by Sony ATV. Parton was recently honored as Music Care's Person of the Year in the program's annual pre-Grammy Gala, where she also performed a medley of her greatest hits at the 2019 Grammy Awards. That'll do it for News of the Week.
Thomas Oversen, promoter in the Middle East. This is Promoter 101.
Up next, a special war story with this surprise guest.
We got a great war story with Jim King, Hyde Park.
So how Hyde Park started was, Hyde Park's obviously been running forever and a day, and the Royal Parks issue their contract, if you like, as part of a tender. And Jay Marciano, who is the CEO of AG Presents and CEO of AG, was working in London at the time. He was the CEO of AG Europe. And I didn't know him very well. And this opportunity came up and I went to see him and said, I need just 10 minutes with you just to talk about this opportunity for Hyde Park. And he said, great, okay, let's get some time next week and come and, present me your ideas and what have you. So luckily for me, Jay had been to see Bruce. He's a big, huge Bruce Springsteen fan, and he'd seen Bruce Springsteen there that summer or the summer before, and it was like the wettest year in London. And so it wasn't a particularly good experience for anybody. No one's fault.
Is this the one that McCartney came out and played?
I think it was that. It was the wood chip year, but the really wet one anyway, where it was. It probably was, would have been, yeah. So, no one's fault, but it was just a mud bath throughout the whole of the UK and London especially so. Anyway, so Jay had this very singular kind of look at what Hyde Park was. So I went and presented these ideas, and I'd done this great little deck, of my ideas about what it should be, and my computer froze after like the second slide. And I was frantically trying to make it work and what have you. And I thought, okay, I have to get it. Jay just went, look, just pitch me it. So I pitched me the idea, and he just went, I love it, but I think it can be better in this area. And I want you to come back next week and give me the development of that. So I come back the week after. He did exactly the same thing to me, but in a different space. He said, I love that bit. It's much better. But what about this bit and this bit? So I come back a third week and did that. He said, great. Okay, let's go for it. What do you need? And I told him all the things I need. He said, he got everything. We presented and we won the contract. So we were all elated about this. And then he invited me to a meeting. He said, I want you to come and give this vision you have for it to a friend of ours who's a good friend of the company's, and just tell him everything you think it should be. So I went out, and it was Patrick Woodruff.
Oh,
That's
nice.
the thing. And I'd never met Patrick before. So I'm walking into this thing and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is Patrick Woodruff from the Stones, who we were trying to book at the time to open the series. And after about 20 minutes, Patrick just stopped me. In fact, it was less than that, probably about like 7 minutes. It felt like 20. And he just stopped me halfway through. I thought, that's it, I've blown it. That's it. The Stones are never going to play. Jay's going to fire me. And he just said, I love it. And then he came out with loads more ideas. This is why Patrick's such a great guy. Just came out, I think you should do that. And when this happens, maybe do this. And that would make that better. And, I love this. And I'm going to give this a good report back to Joyce and the guys. And that's how the Stones conversation started for Hyde Park. And then when we eventually got to the show, and I'm not sure if you've ever been, but it was a hugely ambitious project that we said we were going to do, and the way it was all being built and the levels of production. And we only have 2 weeks to build it, by the way. So we were kind of like re-engineering how you did these things in order to try and get them in time. So we never, knew if we could actually do it or not. And we talked about stressful environments before, trying to get that ready. I think we were still painting stuff when Mick Jagger came on stage, but that was one of the single best experiences I've ever had in my career, if you like, from that first meeting with Jay all the way through to the Stones coming on, and which was still one of the single best concerts I've ever seen. It was just breathtaking. It was when London was having a heat wave as well. So it was like everything came together in this dramatic moment for us. And, it was a real pivot point, if you like, for my career at that point as well. But yeah, that was how Hyde Park started.
The season that you guys do at Hyde Park has turned into such an amazing thing because it's never just a show. It's basically a festival lineup every night. And you guys do these 3-day weekends, which is just amazing, cool stacked bills. It's insane.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things which we've really tried to push as hard as possible is, they are headline shows. You're trying to create an experience there throughout the whole day. So, when we did Tom Petty, for instance, I really wanted to get Stevie Nicks, because, if you're a Tom Petty hardly ever tours, I think he'd only played in the UK like once in 20 years or something like that. There's obviously that huge connection, if you like, between those two artists. Having her play with on that same bill as him made that hugely special. Having Don Henley play with Carole King was massive, from that regard. So it's always been about how far we can go through and how deep we can go through that main stage build to create these one-off spectacles, if you like, which Paul Simon and James Taylor playing together in Hyde Park, that was another, truly special night. People coming out just blew their minds that they would see both artists in that environment and that setting. So, I think that's been one of the real highlights, being able to program that main stage over the last 7 years and put those combinations of artists together has been a real dream, really.
That's amazing. James King talking about the Rolling Stones at Hyde Park and how it all came together. Thank you so much.
No problem at all.
What a great story. So thrilled that we got him. Keep a lookout for the full interview in just a few weeks.
Adam Wilkes with AEG, based in Asia, and I'm on Promoter 101.
Tweets of the week.
We've made you wait long enough. It's time for Tweets of the Week. First tweet: when you get offered an act with no remaining live members. Can you believe that?
So it's basically a tribute act, right? I mean, they just own the name or something?
Yeah, I guess. That's interesting. Creative.
I'm not going to name drop anybody, but there's some fabulous tribute bands out there pretending to be the real band.
Very true. All right, next tweet. Acts that pass on your offers during their 15 minutes with serious ego and then come calling when the world moves on.
I believe the phrase, "Do you want fries with that?" is in their near future.
Agreed.
Feeling pretty smug about that, but I always enjoy watching someone that was a dick before have to eat crow.
Karma's a bitch. It really, really is.
I think it's a learning device because we've all been dicks in the past and it's always come back to bite all of us at some point. And you learn from that not to be such a schmuck.
Very good, Dan. All right, next, paying acts based on your personal taste instead of the current market value is a great way to lose your investment.
If we only booked the things we loved, well, we'd all be fucking broke.
There are times we book stuff and I'm like, I love it, but no, please no.
It's a great thing to buy a ticket for. Go support the guy that bought the show that you love, that you know can't make any money, because that poor son of a bitch, he's going to need the help.
Very true. All right, that's a wrap for Tweets of the Week. You can follow us on Twitter at The Jew.
I'm the Jew.
Ruud Berends, Networking Music, Promoter 101.
In our feature interview this week, we have Evenko's Daniel Glick talking about biz in Canada.
We are at the Polestar Conference. I'm hanging out with Daniel Glick of Evenko. What's up, man?
How are you? It's nicer here than in Montreal right now.
Montreal in the house. So you guys have got to have what I like to think of as the best festival from the visitor point of view you can possibly have. Your catering is amazing. The artists love going. It's an amazing setup. Osheaga's fucking incredible.
It's true to our hearts, for sure. It's been a labor of love and built into something that's thankfully really successful now. Everyone from the fans to the bands to the employees working all take it to heart and really love it.
The sheer scale of an event like that, 3 days, massive, massive undertaking with security, catering, production, artists, and transportation, and getting the fans in and out. And you guys do it so seamlessly. And I know you guys have done it for years and you've built up the infrastructure, but the amount of understanding and logistics that have to go into place to build an event that solid and big has got to take all year long.
It does. I mean, we work all year on it. And as we're going through during last year's festival, we thought of ways to fix certain issues that occurred and how do we do it better. And we're always having meetings and jotting things down to improve them.
Most festivals have a place and they tend to grow, but you guys move around sites because of development and restructuring up there. So you guys have to keep redeveloping and re-engineering that space for that festival as it's changed. So every year it's like you can't just click, copy, repeat. You're redeveloping.
You know, as much as that's a bit of a pain, it's a bit of a blessing as well because it keeps us on our toes. It keeps everyone motivated. It challenges everyone to strive to do things better, to improve the fan experience because, you know, let's say walking to the Metro wasn't as great as it was the year before. We'll think of something else for the fans or do something along the way that will keep them engaged. So it keeps our team creative really to improve the experience for everyone.
Now, a lot of promoters do festivals and a lot of promoters promote shows in theaters and clubs and arenas, but very few are big enough to do both at the same time. But you guys are physically and financially involved all the way from the club to the arena, in the theaters in between. and the festivals. You guys are the game in your market. It's amazing how Evenko has grown into that huge gap there, but you guys own it all.
We don't own it all, but yeah, I'd like to say
You don't
we're...
have the comedy, but besides that, you guys are almost in every show. It's incredible.
Yeah, we've worked really hard to get where we are. I think just being in the market for so long and developing acts and growing our business in every which way possible has helped achieve that. Working with the acts, when we started Osheaga 14 years ago, working with those club acts and understanding their value in our market and what works and what doesn't has really helped us solidify the base for our festivals. And we have other festivals too. We have Il Sonic, which is EDM dance festival.
Heavy Montreal, which is amazing.
Yeah. Headliners, Ghost and Slayer. Slayer's last show in Quebec ever.
The lineup is amazing. You guys outdid yourself. From the clubs to the arenas and back down again, you guys get to do it all. So you get to see acts in every part of their career, which is an amazing thing in the development cycle of an artist. You know you're going to be involved in the next play, and you get to help design that path, which is incredible because in the industry we work in now, it's not necessarily a given anymore.
Yeah, I love it. I think a lot of people at Evenko love that about our business is that we're able to help shape careers in our market with certain artists and really watch them grow, have a hand in their careers. It's exciting.
We've talked about the company. Let's talk about you. How'd you find your way to music?
In grade 11, I had a career day, and that week I had seen a Canadian band called Moist and the Rolling Stones at the Olympic Stadium.
Like how you buried the headliner with the Rolling Stones.
Stones was the first show, but it was just 2 shows in a week, very different experiences. My uncle bought scalper tickets. We sat, 7th or 8th row at the Olympic Stadium. He got us a limousine to take us there, and I was, 16 years old or 15. And then career day, they're like, oh, you have to tell us what you want to do with your career. Like, I don't know what I want to do. So I just put, I want to work in music. I want to work in concerts. Because both those shows were very inspiring to me. And then I get a sheet saying, okay, you could go to Donald K. Donald on X date. And I got to spend a day there.
Donald Arlington?
Yeah. And then I met Lisa Lee, who was doing marketing there. And she still works with us on her PR front. Nick Farkas, who's still my boss, and a few others who I still work with.
Nick worked for DKD?
Yeah. So I was there for the day, observing, reading Polestar magazines, seeing who represented Pearl Jam and some of my favorite bands at that time. And then, I don't know, like a few months later, I just said that, like to intern and started interning there, classifying CDs and writing management letters, thanking them for a great show, making photocopies, press clippings, whatever I had to do. In exchange, I got free concert tickets, CDs, and posters. And that was great for a while. So I did that part-time throughout CEGEP University. And I never left, really.
So from DKD, was there a moment where he stopped doing, because he's not doing shows anymore, right?
Yeah. So I guess it was DKD, then it was Universal Concerts, then House of Blues. Then House of Blues had shut down the Montreal office. And then we became Gillette Entertainment Group, which was owned by George Gillette, same owner as the Montreal Canadiens. And then George sold his company to Jeff Molson and his partners, and now we're Evenko.
Interesting. I didn't realize that at some point you guys were technically part of Live Nation's rest of Canada, because all that continued to sell and get rolled up into Clear Channel and then became the Live Nation office there.
Yeah, I think we were let go right before all that happened. But, we still partner with Live Nation in Montreal.
And you work with AG as well, too, right? You work with everybody?
A lot of people, yeah.
Okay, so as the transitions, you stayed with the company, went from intern to talent buyer over the course of many years.
Yeah.
You always saw yourself doing that as soon as you got in the door there at DKD?
Yeah, it was exactly what I wanted to do. I did marketing for a while. I ran our website for a while, ticket counts, did all those confirmation sheets and,
So you earned your way through the system. You know how to do all the jobs that came up below.
Yep. I settled a ton of shows as well, which we don't do anymore. But I love that part of the business too. I love the accounting part.
I enjoy settlement. I think most people don't, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I love building the budget and seeing the show through. Pretty exciting. Get to see every aspect of it.
Every once in a while, I have a settlement that gets so nitpicky and so hard that I think about the puzzle that settlement can become. The guy that looks for the penny that rounds the other direction because he's not on PC, he's on Mac, and he's looking for that penny and he won't give up looking for it, realizing it's a rounding error is not an acceptable answer to him.
Settlements, when I was starting out, I'd go into settlements and I'd be with Nick and some tour managers would look at me and saying, what's this kid doing here? And I'd be settling with them. I think that was pretty interesting, and it just made me want to prove myself even more and be confident in my numbers and how to deal with certain assholes sometimes. It's kind of fun.
Settlement used to be rougher. I think there's so much more volume of shows now that there's just a normal give and take of how these things are supposed to run, what's expected. Here's your audit. Here's your ad pack. Here's all of the backup.
There's settlement instructions now, which is amazing. You know, when I started settling, there were no instructions. We just got the audit and went for it.
Well, and the road manager, the tour manager, the tour accountant used to run settlement. And now it just kind of became a given. These are the pieces, right? Although there'd be some interesting things. I remember a guy whipping out a ruler and going through the ad pack and like doing the math and taking off the cost of the logo space. We're not paying for your logo to be in the ad.
Same thing happened to me on a Mogwai show. I don't think anyone does that anymore, though.
Well, especially because who's running print now for the most part.
That's true.
You've been in the business for a very long time and you've gotten to grow up in it. It's kind of cool. How long now?
It's about 20 years.
Now, are you counting the time that you're still working as an intern as part of those 20 years?
I guess 15 years full-time working for our company.
How long were you non-paid as an intern?
Maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
But living at home and getting free concert tickets was plenty
Yeah,
of pay.
and that was great. And I'd only come in a couple of days a week.
And you get to see DKD in action.
A little bit. It was only for a couple of days there at the beginning.
Do you see him around still? You hang out at the shows at all?
I saw him at Canadian Music Week a year ago, I think it was.
It's an icon.
He is an icon. Pretty special man.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking amazing. It's interesting to me that no matter what changes in the industry, it's still all run by Canadians all the way through. You guys dominate our industry.
We're pretty good.
So what advice do you have to give to the future generation of the industry?
I think sometimes you have to keep your head down and just work and pay attention and observe. I think that's a crucial part to our business. It's very complex and you don't get things right away. I think it's important that you don't jump to be president right away. There's a lot of learning in this business and a lot of relationships that need to be built. And I think that's a huge backbone of our business. Show up also. Be there. Go to the shows. Understand settlements.
Do you think a lot of people don't?
I don't know if a lot of people don't. I just think some of the experiences, for example, that I went through, some younger people may not be going through some of those experiences and may be missing out on a few things. I think if everyone's a little more involved in every aspect, they're going to be well-rounded. And I think that's super important to be successful in this business and really understand every aspect.
How much entertainment do you guys do that's French-speaking versus English-speaking?
Off the top of my head, maybe 15%, 20% is French.
So it's mostly English?
Yeah. Most of the concerts we do are English, international. We have a division that focuses on French comedy, French singers, and we tour them all throughout the province.
So it's a lot of revenue that is generated up there with that other division, just because literally speaks directly to
Exactly.
half of the population.
Yeah, 70%.
Are most people speaking both languages?
I'd say 50%, 60% can speak both languages, but there's still like a big chunk. Montreal's definitely more of a bilingual city than the rest of the province. Sometimes if you'll go to Quebec City, you'll find it's very different there.
Are they similar markets?
Montreal and Quebec City?
Yeah, as far as the music taste.
Yeah. The rock is definitely big. We'll do excellent with bands like Avenged Sevenfold and Disturbed and Godsmack, Slipknot have always done amazing.
So when bands come up, is it always about the food? Is it about the smoked meat? Is it about the poutine?
It's about that, but it's also about the fans. Montreal fans are really loud. I hear bands say it all the time, but I do believe that they're louder in Montreal than a lot of other markets. I don't know why.
Now that weed is legal in your country, has that affected anything yet?
I haven't seen it. I mean, you can't smoke in a venue. You could smoke outside where you would smoke cigarettes. But I think that was happening anyway, you know. I think it's just a little easier to get now. Now the weed store could be across the street from your venue.
So if you're doing an outdoor show or a festival, can people legally be smoking outside at the festival?
Yeah, I have to check with legal, but yeah. we haven't gone down that road yet. Right now, the laws are you definitely cannot sell at a festival or outside the weed stores in Montreal or in Quebec. But yeah, maybe one day it'll be like a beer stand.
Just a different moment, just kind of weird. But it's funny because you guys are the first country to just legalize it as a full country, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I imagine we're going to get more tourists for our festivals this summer than ever before.
Oh, that makes
for
sense.
that alone.
So in your mind, where's the industry going?
I just see it growing. I just see more shows. I see fans engaged in many different ways than ever before. You know, I read an article about Marshmello doing this Fortnite thing. 8-year-olds are Marshmello fans because they got to play a video game and be Marshmello. And I don't know how many millions of people watch that, but they're exposed to this artist that I think it's a great marketing and great way of creating new fans.
So when US acts come into Canada, you pay them in American currency.
Yeah, but that hurts us because we're selling tickets in Canadian dollars. So we got to pay that exchange rate.
Right. And bands from the rest of the world come in, you pay them in Canadian fund, right? If a band from London comes over, you don't pay them in pounds.
No, we pay them in US dollars.
Really?
Yeah, everyone wants US dollars.
Okay, so a band that's coming to you from a different part of the world that isn't American is making you pay them in US funds, even though they're playing Canada.
Correct.
That seems a little fucked up.
US agents. They love US agents. They want to make their commission in US dollars. They don't want to make them in Canadian dollars. Well, not now, at least.
Seems like if you're doing business in Canada, you should be doing business in Canadian dollars.
I agree. It would help us tremendously.
It's very confusing to me. I know I don't get to make the rules here. I'm just an observer here, but...
It's frustrating at times, yeah. It's our reality, though, and our ticket prices are higher because of it. We'll adjust.
Yeah, I noticed as the dollar fluctuates, it really affects the amount of traffic that's going over, too.
For sure. Bands can't make as much money. And then we're at risk because we got to increase our ticket prices.
So is that a thing when the dollar changes drastically, you can lose on a sold-out show because you bought it at a different guarantee in US dollars earlier?
For sure. It's happened to us before. Hasn't really happened to us this season.
It's been like pretty stable at like, what, 25%, right?
33% now. Yeah. It
goes back and forth between, what, 26 and 35 or something?
Last year was much better. This year has been pretty tough. And it's really tough on our festivals, as you can imagine.
It's kind of been in that ballpark for the last 3 years or so.
Yeah.
Right? There was a moment where our dollar was worth less than yours, maybe 9-10 years ago.
Yeah.
It was like 110 to 1 or something.
It was a great moment for us.
I think it's better for both economies when the dollars are closer because it makes it a little easier for trade.
Yeah.
Every cent that we split apart makes it harder to do business across the border because somebody's losing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get that there's oil futures involved and how they work, all of that, but it's a bigger picture than concert tickets sometimes. It's hard to imagine anything being bigger than concert tickets. Smarter economists than us apparently getting involved.
Fucking up our business.
They must have a big plan the year, right? When the dollar swings like that.
For sure. As I was saying, especially on the festivals where you've got, $1 million of guarantees to pay out in a short period of time. It affects our bottom line big time. So when we're doing our budgets, it's definitely something we're taking into consideration. We got to look at that, early on, see where we're going to go, if we have to increase our ticket prices or not as a consequence.
Man, if that didn't exist, how much more money would you guys get to have in the pot between you and the artist every year? It's got to be massive at the end of the year.
Yeah, massive. I've never done that calculation.
Probably better that you don't. You might be in the fetal position. But hey, it's the cost of doing business, right?
It's our reality.
All right, so we got your advice for the future generations. We talked about the economy. We talked about how you got in the business. We talked about the amazing festival and how you guys do shows up and down and the language barrier. Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. This was fun.
It's great having Daniel on the podcast. I can't say enough great things about Evenko and Osheaga. If you haven't been, go to Montreal and experience what these guys put together. I mean, if you never leave catering, you'll be the happiest person on the planet ever. But their lineups are always amazing. It's always sold out. Evenko just knows how to do it right.
Hello, my name's Jane Bees. I'm the head of music at the Roundhouse, and I'm here on Promoter 101.
Why not write us at steiny@promoter101.net? Doesn't cost nothing.
Not nothing. Special thanks to Jamie for co-hosting. We'll be back next week, Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 Central, 7 p.m. on the Eastern Seaboard.
Join us then when our special guest is Paradigm's Eric Seltz talking about going from an indie to joining Windish and later Paradigm.
Until then, we're wishing you sold-out shows for the week to come. Cheers!
Call your mother.
Call your mother.
Hey, it's Barnaby Harrod. I'm head promoter, Mercury Wheels Live Nation, and I'm on Promoter 101. Ooh. Ba-da-ba-ba.